Alright, and welcome back. So I'm going to do another episode. It's going to be a little bit crude. I've kind of extracted an object, a wall and some windows out of a existing project to kind of show people what I've been working on to do some random slat testing. I know that there's a couple packages out there that will do that, but I found that I'm going to have to subtract out windows and openings and all kinds of things, so it needs to be a little bit more flexible and still loose in the Dynamo platform. So it's nothing that's packageable yet that I can easily duplicate. So let's go ahead and get into it. So what I want to do is create a series of random vertical slats of different lengths that I can create a seed value for that will randomize it for me. So I'm going to need to be able to essentially grab this as a surface, grab the top edge, grab the bottom edge, create some slats in between, and let's see what happens. First off, I'm going to select an edge from Revit. I'm actually going to do that twice. So I'm going to pick the top, and I'm going to pick the bottom real quick. Awesome. I'm going to do integer slider. Did I not spell that right? Integer slider. This I'm going to take it up to 200, minimum of 1. Go by ones is fine. I'm going to use the handy dandy curves divide. I'm actually going to use that one twice as well. So let's hook up these curves. These are the numbers that I want. Perfect. Do a line by start point, end point. Just connect these points up. So grab all these points, grab all these points. I am set to automatic. So there is a bit of an issue. If you notice, I've only got one curve, so let's pop that up to maybe 46. If this ever happens to you, for whatever reason, Revit's geometry, and I don't understand this, I'm not going to try, but basically it's saying it's starting at this point and going this way, and this point is starting down here and going that direction. So what we have to do is throw in a quick little reverse list. I think my batteries are going dead on my keyboard. It doesn't matter if it's top or bottom at this point. And there we go, perfect. So there's how I generate the vertical numbers. So we're already, 2 minutes in, and we've got, we're off to a good start here. So next up, we're going to extrude those curves. So we get these flat surfaces coming off. We're going to do a distance and direction. Of course, there's our handy dandy curve right there. We're going to do a vector of the x-axis. Now this is going to change. Oops, sorry. I'll just type in x, that'd be easier. This is going to change depending on your orientation in the model. So in this case, my x happens to be facing towards us at the moment, but if my wall turned 90, then I would need the y direction. So just a little FYI. I'm not ready for that distance yet because I'm going to create a little item for that. So before we do that, I am going to eventually make that thicker. It doesn't need to be both sides. If it could be, it's not a big deal. In this case, I want it to be, I believe in this model, that is equivalent, I'm sorry, in this model that is equivalent to, well, not 1/8 of an inch, but it's more than that. What would that be? 2 inches in the model. Okay, so let's create this little distance, and for that, I'm actually going to create a seed value out of a integer slider. I'm just going to rename it seed value. I guess this can go anywhere from 1 to 100. That should be okay. However, I am going to cycle that list by that seed amount, and that list is going to be a couple different distances. Let's go 0.25 to 1 by 0.25. There we go. So that's going to give me a list of values. There's going to give me 4 values, 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, and 1. and then I'm going to have it shuffle. So that's where I'm going to get that randomness starting to come in here. Okay, great. Now we can do our distance, and since I've already done surface thickness, it should be coming in here somewhere. Hey, there it is. And it's not. That's okay. Let me figure out what went wrong here. Let's turn off the preview for this, turn off the preview for that. Technically, we don't need those previewed, but that's fine. We don't need this preview. And then start to get our seed values in here and start to build that list. There we go. Now it's starting to shuffle them out. Perfect. Let's zoom in here and start to shuffle these. There, now it's just shuffling them around randomly. Perfect. Okay, great. Now, real quick, since it's a little bit hard to tell for the human eye to say, okay, which ones are a little bit longer, shorter, medium, you know, those kind of things. If we color coded this, we could essentially pull out all the numbers. So let's say we had like 20 of the quote-unquote 4-inch, and then you know, 20 of the 3-inch, and then 28 of the 2-inch, and the rest remaining are the 1-inch little slat pieces. It'd be nice to know that for fabrication. So we're going to go ahead and do a math remap that range. So we have those numbers. I want to map it over 0 to 1, so that's going to give me my new min-max. Now, you wouldn't necessarily have to do this since I used 0 to 1 essentially already. But if you had some different thicknesses, you probably would want to include this. Let's grab color range out of here. Excellent. So we're going to just use those values here. Not a big deal. And now, let's say I had some windows in here, some openings, and some voids that I was talking about earlier. You know, obviously I would want this taken out so that the slat is, you know, this distance, and it's voided, and then it's started up again in alignment. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do for this instance is select this whole face, and then these subsequent voids, if you will, extrude those out, do a difference, and hopefully this all comes out okay. So let's start by selecting face. It's going to be that face. Excellent. So it's pulled all that in, and you notice it has broken out the window openings there, only in the sense that there's no surface there, so of course there's not going to be a surface there, right? That makes sense. So what I need to do is actually add that surface back in so that I can reverse the Boolean that's going to happen here. So let's do surface perimeter curves. Just give me 2 seconds here. Okay, so we have 28 lines. So basically it's saying, give me this outside rectangle, give me this little rectangle, this little rectangle, this little rectangle, and this little rectangle. By the way, little helpful tip here. Let's say you were modeling this, or somebody else was modeling it, and they happened to copy this one to here, and then copy this one to here, and then they selected all three, and then copied those over to here. Well, as Dynamo and Revit are going to read it, it's going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is actually how that's going to get copied in, which makes a little bit of an issue with the sort order, because then you have to reorder it. And so if you, I guess in theory, went back and you were struggling with that, just copy this, delete all the other openings, voids, whatever, and go back and put them back in order. That works here because there's only 6 windows, but hopefully that works for you later. So let's create another little quick code block here. We want to go from, how many values I said is 28 values, so we'll do this. 0 to 27 is 28 values. Then we're going to chop that list. And since there's squares and rectangles, they have 4 sides. So That should give me some nice chopped up lists. Ah, perfect. We're going to do our handy dandy polycurve joint curves. Now I only want the inside squares because that's actually what I'm voiding out. So I'm going to do another little code block, and I don't want to start at 0 because 0 is the large rectangle. I just want these little squares. So give me all these 6 little squares here. Perfect. I'm going to do a surface patch to get those in. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do this. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I could have done perimeter. Yeah, okay. There might be a better way to do this. Let's get through this. Just thicken that up. I'm just going to throw a random number in here. Perfect. Okay, that's what I need. Then I need to essentially grab these, which I'm going to unpreview because I forgot to put in display geometry by color, because there's our colors. I don't need this on anymore. As a matter of fact, I don't need this patch on anymore, and I don't need this face on anymore. That's gonna just clean things up a little bit. And all we're gonna do is a solid difference all. Grab that, grab that, grab that. We got our color, turn this off. Oh, one more thing. Turn off these extruded, boom, and we're done. Fantastic. Now I've got my colors, so obviously the teal color there is the longest, next longest is the green, next longest is the orange, and then the shortest slat is this kind of maroony, some sort of weird red color. Kind of, I almost saw some pink in there, but I guess we'll call it red. Really, that's it. And then you can sort this by these colors. You'll find out how many of each color there is. I guess you could take it one step further and say I've got a teal color and then a couple smaller slat pieces of that teal color, and I've got this size of it, this size of it. So there's actually quite a bit of fabrication customization that would need to happen here for such a simple form. And then let's just go back here and test our seed value. Make sure it's still working. Awesome. So I just let the computer do all the modeling for me because I don't have time to come up with a million different iterations. I just want this to do it for me. So there you go. Export that. Actually, we can bring that into the Revit model really quick, if I'm not mistaken. Import. And in this instance, I want this geometry. Bring that in. And nice. Excellent. So I got my shadow test there, so I can check all my different slat depths, and it does bring it in as a sat file, which isn't a big deal, but it only brings it in once. So as I begin to update this, it updates it live in the Revit model. So again, I'm not modeling or manually changing that, which should be a nightmare, and I get basically full customization at all times live. So that's it. We're right at the 15 minute mark. So yeah, I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter for people to learn on. This script will be available on Arc machines. So I'll leave a link in the at the end of the video here, and looking forward to doing my next video. So take care, everybody. Keep on learning. Thanks.